What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Built Different podcast with Tucker Speed. This episode, I was joined by a huge name in the motorcycling podcast world, Jace Hudson, also a accomplished motorcycle painter, helmet painter, custom bike builder. He just built a beautiful FXR. We talked about his FXR tour. I was also joined by Saxon of Saxmedia. Those two have a long-standing friendship. They used to work together. Talked a little bit about that, how they got, hooked up, how Saxon moved out to Salt Lake. Talked about art. We talked about life. We talked about traveling. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And a huge thanks to those guys for joining me. Remember, this podcast is brought to you by TuckerSpeed.com, your one-stop shop for all your performance Harley-Davidson parts. And please, if you haven't yet, please follow, leave us a 5-star review. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Making power by day, making friends at night. Built different, Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother. It's one of those things like I don't ever want to not know how to paint. Like I always want to have some progression in my skills, but I don't want to rely on it. I don't trust it. Same way I don't really trust podcasting. This shit some new thing can come out next year and it was like podcast. Who does that anymore? And you're like, well, fuck, I did with all this equipment and all this time I put into getting good at it. And now the new thing is,
whatever.
Whatever, said thing, right?
Well, we were talking about that the other day. That, have podcasts peaked.
Yeah.
And it's, some would say, yeah, podcasts are peaked and they're going away. They're going to be phased out. But my question is, with what?
Yeah.
I don't see anything yet that's going to replace it.
Not for what the podcast feels, right?
Technically, there's always been podcasting even before it was.
It was talk radio or
radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just.
So
it'll always be there.
Yeah, it's not going to go away. It's just going to look different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of those aspects that like I don't want to have all my ducks in. Well, I don't want to have all my money in one
basket.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like eggs in one basket. There it is. Yeah, there was an analogy in there somewhere. No, I don't want to have that. So I want to have, even though photography is like you're better off trying to be a rock star to ever make money with photography. It's like I enjoy doing that and it makes me happy. And then you have like podcasting. I've done it long enough to where I can make some money doing it. But then there's paint, and then there's like building this FXR. It's like, well, shit, maybe I want to build some bikes again. That was fun. That scratched the itch. I hadn't touched it in a long time. You know what I mean? But then you're like, well, oh yeah, I did it for myself. I didn't have to answer to anybody. I didn't have to ask somebody, hey, can I put this fender on it? It's going to be cool. Trust me. Like. I just did what I wanted and I'm proud of it versus if there was a customer influence, I don't know that it would have been anything like what it is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, cool. We're rolling now.
Oh, we are?
We're rolling. So thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, dude.
We got the actual Podfather, a motorcycle podcast. I'm stoked to have you out here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you lending the invitation.
Yeah.
So...
And also joined by Saxon.
Yeah. Yo.
What's up? Why the hell are you in Salt Lake anyways? I guess I want to know. You're just passing through, right?
Yeah. Passing through. Wife and I like to travel. I like to do some kind of trip at the beginning of the year, just kind of set the tone, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody starts the year with a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I think by doing like a road trip, especially that can lean into the photography, the podcasting that I do, and going to see people and friends out west and seeing the landscapes, it just, all of it is good to start the year off with.
Kind of
right?
kicks the year off a little bit.
Yeah. And so me and my wife, we decided like, let's do this trip and we'll go see her family. She's from LA and we'll kind of loop back around and then the year will kind of really start for us when we get back. Like now it's, all right, time to go to work, time to get shit done, trying to make things happen. You know what I'm saying? So
do you have does your year kind of play out the same every year where like you do a road trip, you go home, just like put your head down, work a bunch, and get ready for the summer, and then kind of take like a summer, like take some time off in the summer to like ride, because you're always, you'll ride to Sturgis or you'll ride somewhere. Is that kind of the flow for you now?
It is, and it's kind of gotten to a point where I'm even kind of throwing a wrench in that mix to kind of mix it up some. Obviously, in Texas, the summers are kind of brutal, so there's no point in being trapped in a shop and sweating your ass off. And painting motorcycles, like if you're painting motorcycles in the middle of summer, like, you probably got somebody pissed off at you, right? Because you got their bike and they're not being able to ride it. So it's kind of, we've for the last couple of years, we've tried to cut off motorcycle paint around April, March, April. And that way we don't have anything in the shop that's going to keep anybody from riding. Most of our helmets that we do are at a point where if you're buying one, it's not the only helmet you have. So we're not
you're not keeping anybody from riding. Yeah.
And so I'll paint helmets when I'm home and stuff like that to help kind of fluff a little bit of income to keep everything oiled and working. But the wintertime, a lot of people are stationary, so it's easier to go to a part of the country and sit down with more podcasts, do more podcasts, because no one's like in Daytona or in Sturgis or, they're usually chilling, right? Just working, just grinding. And so like this trip, and then I'll come home for like 3 or 4 weeks to get some projects done, and then we'll do Mama Tried, and then do another run of podcasts kind of in the Midwest. And then that'll kind of set us up for another good stretch of banging out helmets, paint, whatever we can do at home. And then the summer kicks off, and then it's back on the road trying to live, enjoy motorcycles and not forget why.
That's the hard part, man.
That is the hard part.
That's the hard part. I mean, it's been hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's hard for me too, man. And I get to ride a lot, so the staying in love with something is a chore. It's not a chore. It's like working out. Like if you don't do it, things just fall apart. You know what I'm saying? So finding a way to stay in love with motorcycles and not just motorcycles, but everything that surrounds motorcycles, the people, the motorcycle industry for guys like you and me, that's also draining in aspects, So.
Well, I mean, if you lose kind of your passion for motorcycling, it's going to affect your paint jobs. It's going to affect your podcast. It's going to affect everything you do. And so you kind of it's the same thing for me. Like if I'm not passionate about it, I probably don't really give a shit about the quality of what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's the hard part. Because once you get to a certain point, like the quality in what you produce is the only thing that you really have. It's like your word, right? Like, in doing paint work and helmets and things like that for people that aren't coming to my shop to pick it up, the last thing you ever want them to do is open up that box and see garbage. Yeah. See a run, see problems that, they're paying a lot of money for something for a guarantee, right? Same thing if someone, has you build a bike or work on a bike, like it's a guarantee. And I got to be in a mindset to guarantee what I'm putting out there. And trust me, there's times where I feel like I've done work that I'm like it's still good, but I'm like, fuck, I feel like I could have done better, and I'm hard on myself about that. You know what I mean? I know you are too with what you do.
I think everybody that's successful has a little bit of that. Yeah, like they're their own worst critic. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think you have to be. You have to be. 'Cause you have to look at everything you do and be like, I could have done this a little bit better. And then the next one you do is just a little bit better.
Yeah, it's that growth. It's when you get to a point in your career where you don't know how to make things better. That's the loss. That's the midlife crisis, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And not to say that like in anything I've ever done, am I at a point where I feel like, oh, this can't get better. It can always get better. But is there an incentive to be better than where I'm at now? That's the thing I've ran into in some aspects.
Yeah, that's that thing that we were talking about, like that kind of lack of target or lack of a goal. It's like you're trying to get better, but what's better? Yeah. Like what is, define better. Yeah. What does it
provide for me that makes me want to be there, right? Like I'm a very goal-driven person. Like I need a carrot dangled in front of me, if you will. Yeah. And when I have that, I'm on it. I'm getting shit done.
Yeah, the blinders are on, like nothing else matters. You're just looking at that carrot, and that's it.
But when I don't have a carrot to chase, or I don't have a dream to chase, or a goal to achieve, that's when I'm lost, you know? And when you get to a certain point in some aspects, like with paintwork for me, like I love doing it, and I am by no means the best at it at all. Like there's so many amazing painters out there. But I've gotten to a point where I'm confident in it, in what I can produce. And if I got better in certain areas, there's no more money. There's no more, other than just me feeling better about how much better I am. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else. Like, you know what I mean?
You don't think there's a sense of like staying relevant?
Yeah. And
or like kind of evolving with
what I mean by that, it's like I definitely always try to stay evolving, right? You know, when I get bored of painting a certain style, that's when I know it's time to go back to the drawing board and start to reinvent, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I've done that so many times in my career, because I know, like, going back to what we started talking about, when you get bored with it, when you fall in love with it, it's because this became a job. And we always kind of did this because it never felt like a job. Like, what you do doesn't feel like packing a truck at UPS. You know what I mean? Not that that's anything wrong with that, but, you know.
Right.
And when you get to a point where it's just another panel job with lace and fish scales and, you know, gold leaf or silver leaf, it's like you get burnt out on that style. And so you got to find ways to make that fun again. And that's evolving that style, mm-hmm. You know. Tired of flake, so I started doing pearls more. You know, you got to find ways to make yourself interested, stay in love with it again.
Yeah.
But as far as like I do very decent. I'm not selling myself very good on this. I do very decent silver and gold leaf, but I know some dudes that are out of this world, and I do want to be that good, you know. But I don't know how much energy and effort do I put into that when I also have a podcast and photography and events and these other areas that also fulfill me, and I enjoy those as well. So it's kind of like I'm good enough right now at this.
Yeah.
And so while this is still good, I'm going to go ahead and spend a little energy over here.
That makes sense.
You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. And that is definitely true when you're kind of spread thin, or you're trying, you know, you don't have just one egg in the basket, just paint. Like you've got all these other things to kind of focus that energy or drive on.
Yeah. And I've always told people that, like, everything that I'm interested in and do and have my hands on are all like, they're like moons around a planet, and the planet's motorcycles.
Yeah.
So everything feeds into this one thing. It's not like I love motorcycles, but then my other hobby is crocheting, you know, like completely something out of the realm of any kind of help to what the big picture, right? So even if I am going to go dabble in, you know, photography, then it makes me showing the world my paintwork better.
Right.
Or I get to capture the life that I live with all these amazing people better in motorcycling, or, you know, whatever the case may be, or you start a bike night or a camp out, or, you know, a podcast about motorcycles, you know?
Yeah, it all kind of stems from the same place, and it's kind of they're all feeding each other.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is I'm surprised that I haven't, like, literally burned myself out on it. But I think because of the traveling on motorcycles, that always centers me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like getting out and just having like 6 months of hard grinding, and then June comes and I'm on the road for a month or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. It's like you're actually ready to go back to work afterwards, to be honest with you. But you're also like, you're doing it, man. Like that's living the dream, in my opinion.
I mean, that's the life, right?
Yeah.
Like you wait all year long for that 2 weeks or that month of just hitting the road.
Yep.
Escaping from the grind.
Escaping, or, you know, one thing, this podcast I did right before I left with this Austin Shook Soda dude, and it was Austin. He goes, not escaping, but running to something new.
Yeah.
You know, looking for new inspiration, looking for new, sometimes when you remove yourself from the place that you've consumed yourself with, then you can see things differently, right? Mm-hmm. You get very accustomed to how things look and feel, and to change that up, you know, going on a trip, to me, it gives me a chance to kind of grow from the version of me before the trip, you know, that if that makes any kind of fucking sense, I don't know. A
little bit. Yeah. Escaping, you know, makes it sound
Like you hate it.
Like it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just it's a reset.
Reset. That's exactly what it is.
It's just a reset.
Yeah.
Because you get so, tunnel vision. I do. I spend 60 hours a week inside these four walls, and I forget what the world looks like.
Yep.
And so, you got to go out, reset, get inspired. I always come home from, events or rallies or races, and my mind's just racing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with every idea imaginable. Now, if I could only come home and like make all those things happen, would be awesome. But
don't you wish sometimes you had a switch that you can turn on to have that feeling of motivation?
Yeah.
Like that's the curse of being creative any kind of way, is like you have no control over that. But as you get older and you live in it more, you start to like know when it kicked in. Like, oh, there it is. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a boner, right?
Yeah. Like an old man boner.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's like, that's what that was, you know? But like what you just said, going to an event, going to something, you just come back inspired. And, it's because you went and did the thing that you were either helping other people go enjoy or go experience, like getting their bike styled for it, or in my case, like painting a helmet or a bike for somebody to get them set up to go do whatever life they're going to live on it. And once I get to go do what I love to do, 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like a conversation we were having earlier. You pull yourself away from something, it kind of brings back that want and desire for what you were doing or where you were at.
Yeah.
Like just me moving away from Texas, all my friends are there, family. But coming out here, not only did I make new friends, but it made me appreciate the things that I could do back home, and the people I could see, or just same concept. You pull yourself away from the work that you've been draining yourself with all year, and you kind of get that appreciation for it again.
He had a really good saying, and I completely resonated with it. It was like, his nieces and nephews are right there, right at home, and he was there, and he never saw them, never really paid attention. But now that they're gone, he feels more connected to them, being 1,000 miles away. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a strange one, right? It's a podcast. No.
No,
phone was vibrating.
I think it's good. I think that's true. Like, you just get complacent with what's right there in front of you.
Yeah. Well,
whether it's work, family, or whatever.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you have a very different business model than mine, right? Your business model has a lot of mouths that's got to feed in this place, and it's hard for you to. You can't shut this down for the summer and go do it. You know what I mean? So even though I think we both need the same, we both got to fill back the cup the same way. Like, how do you go about doing that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you find like the motivation to wake up and,
like just keep doing it?
Yeah.
It's been a challenge for me. Racing's probably the biggest one for me. I just love any form of racing. Like that's just what does it for me. So for me to be able to go to a race and then come home, like I'm totally just reset, rejuvenated, inspired to come home and like do better.
Yeah.
Work hard. But this place is hard. I've gone through a lot of challenges in this with my business model. Because, when I opened, it was just me kind of working on bikes, fixing bikes, doing a little custom stuff here and there. And then when I started to, put some custom bikes together, and then I started to race again, I was like, okay, all I want to do is build a business that can just keep running.
Yeah.
Like the machine keeps rolling, and I can just take off for a week and go ride or go to an event or go to a rally, and everybody else kind of keeps the machine running.
Yeah.
That really kind of ended up blowing up in my face a little bit.
Yeah.
Because so around 2019, I got to a point where I had a couple guys here where I thought I could trust to just like leave. Here's the keys.
Yeah.
You guys run the show. I'll be back in a week.
Yeah.
And I did that for about a year and a half. And those two dudes like totally just soured them. They just took on this attitude of, to hell with this. Like, we're making him all this money and he's just out playing all the time and running around the country.
Yeah.
You know, they'll see a photo of me, you know, at a race or in Sturgis or whatever, and they're here working, and it just pissed them off, and they bounced.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, maybe I need to rethink this. So now it's like, now I have to like build this, you know, machine to where I can shut it down and take everybody with me.
Yeah.
Which is just even more expensive and harder to do. Is it the right thing to do or the wrong thing? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Because it's like, I can't just be burning through employees, you know? Like, I don't want to burn, like, I want, when I worked at the dealership, that's how it was. Like, we didn't get time off in the summertime.
Yeah.
I worked at the dealership for 8 years. I didn't go to one motorcycle event, one motorcycle rally. No, I didn't really ride. We were allowed to have time off in the winter, which around here,
Yeah, what are you going to do?
you know, you're stuck. So I started looking at things differently. I'm like, I'm going to provide an opportunity for people that want to work here and want to do a good job and they want to kick ass. They need that same reset as I do.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to surround myself with people who want to come in here, kick ass, do a good job. And then when it's time, we're going to lock the door and we're all going to jump on the bikes, or we're going to jump in the truck and trailer, whatever it is. And we're going to travel together and we're going to reset together. And then we're going to come back and we're going to get back at it. So far it's expensive for me to do that, but I think it's paying off in the long run. I hope.
Yeah. Well, that's 100% the thing, right? Like I kind of came to that same conclusion a while back when I had, you know, my brother was working for me and trying to find people that want to, because everything that I do is very like not downplaying anything that takes place in the shop working on bikes, right? But you know, the thing that I needed most help with was the most boring part of the job, sanding. Nobody wants to sand, right? Nobody wants to polish parts. Nobody wants to do these things that leave you caked in water and muddy sanding residue and whatnot, right?
It's kind of like oil changes and tire changes here.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you know, there's something cool going on over there. I want to do the cool shit, right? But and then people would kind of want to be doing the airbrush thing or something like that, but it's such a time suck, right? Like the people on social media are seeing like the Fast Life Garage since 2015 the way it is, but they didn't see the 10 years prior to that, you know, airbrushing really shitty stuff, doing really bad paint jobs, doing, you know, whatever I could to gain experience and grow to be at that point where this platform comes along and I have honed a decent skill to exploit to the world, right? And they get in, you know, they fall in love with paint, and then they just want to come and do the most
just the glorious part.
Just the glorious part, right?
Like they don't want to, you know, they don't want to put in the time or the work. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, I think in the motorcycle side, like on the mechanical side, it's like I want to be a custom bike builder, but you got to. I mean, there's a lot of shit that happens behind the scenes. Like everybody that's out there building bikes, you know, they didn't just start doing it.
Yeah.
You know, there's some time, there's some work, a lot of long nights, getting dirty.
Yeah. Trial and error, learning stuff, school of hard knocks, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, building bikes, you know, I've done my version of that in my time. And what it is growing your connections, you know, with the people that you have to rely on to do the things that you can't do. And growing your vision, right? Because your vision, if you watch Biker Build Off right now, first time ever watching anything, and you get inspired by one of those bikes, your vision of inspiration is very narrow. You're only coming off of that one thing that you consumed. It's maybe an initial spark, but you know, 10 years from now, after you've dived into magazines and builders and styles and places, like you're going to create something more unique and personalized to like you because you've had all this inspiration flow through you, right? The thing that I feel like so many people just gloss over in everything they want to do in their life is time. You know, they don't want to put time, and they don't have no concept of, if I start now plus time and I'm looking at my life again right here, it's different. I'm better. I'm at a different spot, closer to where I wanted to be in this, right? You apply that. I mean, it's the workout concept, right? If you start in January and you stay consistent with it, by February you'll start seeing results. Might not be the fucking 6-pack you dreamed of, but you're on the path to get to that. And the same thing happens with every type of skill inside, you know, a mechanic shop, a fab shop, a paint shop, a creative studio where people are making content. Initially starting, and then time, and obviously effort, and then you get somewhere. And some people are more proficient at certain things right off the bat, right? So some people might be better at certain things at the beginning, but they still have to put time and effort in to get to where they want to go. And I think social media, what they did was they started inspiring people to try things and get into stuff, but it didn't show them the roots that had to be planted or grown for that matter to get to that point of doing that. And the patience doesn't come very often. You know?
Well, and social media just breeds this like immediate satisfaction kind of thinking.
Funny thing that I was having a conversation while I was in Albuquerque. Some people want to start a brand so bad that they got a logo before they even know what their fucking brand's about. Yeah. Right? They watched all the Gary V's and Andy Frisellas and like I'm hustling, bro. Want to get banked, bro. You know, whatever. And so they have everything but the substance of what they're doing. They have the logo, they have the brand, they got the mission statement, but they have no.
What are they?
Who are you? What are you doing? Like, you know, t-shirt brands are common for that. Like they got all, you know what I mean? Like why buy your t-shirt over a Famous Stars and Strap shirts if those are even still around? Like why? Because you got a cool logo on it? Like what does it mean? What does it stand for? Why'd you start a t-shirt company? You know? Yeah,
there's got to be, at the end of the day, there's got to be something there that generates, money or something, right? Like,
money.
You could start a brand all you want, but who's going to buy your shit if you don't represent something, or if you don't stand for something, or if you don't, if you're not building something or producing something? Like, who are you or what are you?
Yes, and especially,
it's like, we just make up a brand right now and start selling t-shirts, but who's going to give a shit?
Yeah, if you spend enough money and you throw enough of those things that everybody throws at it, it'll probably do well. I'm sure that's how a lot of brands do, but
you could definitely. You can do anything with money.
Yeah.
If you got money, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but if you got money, why the fuck you starting a brand, dude? Go enjoy it.
You got money. All you got to do is create a logo, put it on a t-shirt, and convince Kim Kardashian to put it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you can give her enough money to wear it, like, you do whatever you want. But if you're starting from nothing, like, you gotta build something first.
Yep. And that's kind of I don't know how we got on that subject, but that's kind of the take. And I think even now, after having a brand for, going on 10 years, and same thing with you talking about how long you've been doing this solo, it's like, I think every year we probably go through the same ebb and flows of like, all right, why am I doing it now?
That's exactly.
You gonna show them how to do it, man?
Rookie mistake.
You ask yourself, like, well, I think that we commonly do this, both of us, is after we've, had a stint of time, like, we always got to step back and go, well, why am I doing this still? Like, what is it about this that I love or don't love? And I think we make adjustments and changes, and just like we're talking about this entire podcast, like trying to stay real, you know what I mean?
Stay true to yourself, be real, but
also be responsible.
Yeah.
Because I really just want to jump on the bike and ride all year long.
Yeah.
If I can just get paid for doing that, there's an OnlyFans way I could pull that off. If I had OnlyFans worthy content.
Dude rides bike hard.
Naked.
Hard. What do you mean by hard?
It's just like a blur, real small one.
I'm curious. I want to know something. I don't know the story behind how you guys.
Yeah.
You know, how you guys know each other, how you guys met. I don't know if anybody listening knows, but Saxon, you live here in Salt Lake now.
Yeah.
But you came from Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
You were working with Jace. Like,
It's the worst year of his life.
No, it's cool.
like how did that all come to be?
Good.
Well, so it started, I was friends with his younger brother, Jesse.
Okay.
At the time, I had just got rid of my last sport bike, and I was itching. And then I met Jesse, and he's riding a Dyna. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to buy a Harley. So I get a little Sportster, and I think I'm hot shit. And
Like everybody does.
well, actually, before I actually bought the Sportster, I went with Jesse to his house, and we were just chilling by the fire. And that's when I met him.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, check out this Sportster I'm going to buy.
Did he laugh at you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, get out of here. Get out of here, nerd.
But I bought it anyway.
Yeah.
And then showed up to the first bike night in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And ever
Yeah,
since
he's
then,
an original of our Anvil 8 guys.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we kind of had the spoof on the first 9 because
Okay.
there was a solid group of us at the beginning of bike night, and Sax was one of the original dudes that was consistent being there every week, helping us kind of create the foundation for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, after years, I mean, I think it was like,
That was like 18. Yeah.
yeah.
And, you know, him being there, and then I think you were doing construction. Like, you were in, like electrical kind of helping.
Yeah. Yeah. I was doing low voltage stuff at the time. And then he wanted to build a studio.
Yeah.
And I was actually out of work at the moment. And it's like, fuck it, I'll come help you. Ended up building this whole
It's dope. Yeah.
2-story studio.
Yeah.
And,
It's a
after-
cool setup.
Dude, the whole, I mean, you've been into it. You flew out that time and came to it, but we kind of commonly talk about it with our other buddies that helped us. That time building that was probably one of my favorite like moments in time of my life.
Yeah.
You know, amongst many others, right? Like I got kids and shit. So
I
Gotta
totally
give
feel
them-
it because I had those same feelings about this place.
yeah,
Like you're just building.
we you know, when the initial thought came out and, you know, started buying the stuff and whatnot, and just the way it felt, like seeing, like tearing it, what was there down, cleaning it, building it, deciding, because I think originally we were going to leave it all open up there, like a big loft.
Yeah.
And then we decided to close it in the room. And it was just like 2 solid months of every night till like 3 a.m. We're there. And then we had like so many people stopping in to help us, like friends from all over the country that would be traveling or whatever. And it was a truly special time, in my opinion, between Sax and I and another buddy, Matt, Hazmat Designs, that was helping us out with the whole thing. And then we had a big party there the first time we did the whole thing. It was just, that was kind of then. And then he kind of kept doing his own thing and got another job, I think, for a while. Went back to that job, right?
Yeah, I went back to the same job.
And I think that you came to me at the end, or it was another year before you came to work at the shop. It was December. And then January the following year. So January 2021 is when he came to work at the shop. But he wanted to create, like he wanted to get into making, I remember you told me, he's like, I want to make music videos and shit like that.
Yeah.
Had no camera, no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Not technically music videos, but just that type
Videos
of
with
like,
music on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
So he had like a vision in which, and this is back to my idea plus time equals results if you put the work in, right? You got Saxon, what he's been creating, right?
Yeah.
In 2021, or actually 2020, when he came to me with the idea and talking about it, and he started working at the shop, I was at that transition point too, where I have the podcast. We got a video podcast now. We're doing this, and he can help out with that. But hey, I still need you to sand parts.
well, I was understanding. Like,
He's sanding parts, and and I'm like, hey, and then go make a reel. So it's like I needed the paint work. Him helping me with that justified paying him, because
Yeah.
I didn't really make money. We don't make making social media content didn't pay our bills. Like,
Right.
I'm not selling any T-shirts or anything, so I don't have any kind of thing to get them to click on it to go to another thing, right? But he definitely helped with the podcast. I gave him his first GoPro, which was a hand-me-down from, but just whatever. Like, hey, if you can create something with this, then that's a start. It's something,
Yeah.
How many people like want to do something, but they don't want to use whatever tools they have to start creating the thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to have this badass camera and this badass computer, but if you have a GoPro or a cell phone, then you can start making something.
Do whatever.
Video-wise.
Just work with what you got.
That's what I started, It was actually Instagram Reels that made me go for it.
Yeah.
Because I'd always had these, ideas, visions in my head. Just like, oh, this would be badass if I could do this. Or, everyone's thought they were in like a movie before, just pictured themselves in some type of cinematic thing.
Yeah.
And, started with the phone because the Reels came out and did the first. My first one was a camp out video.
Yeah.
And just progressed from there. My sister gave me her old Canon. It was not a video camera at all, but I still took it and I did what I could with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I upgraded to Sony, and now I'm here.
And just going.
Yeah. And he worked at the shop till about Sturgis, because right around that time, like that's whenever, at this time I was still kind of like working through the summers. And we had a couple of jobs that were supposed to come through, like big paying jobs that just didn't come through.
Mm-hmm.
And those were like his paychecks. And so it got to a point where like, hey, I make enough money to sustain this shop and my livelihood. But now that some of these bigger jobs that were lined up that didn't show up, like I don't know how to fucking pay you. You know what I mean? So he went and got another job doing some other stuff, but still helped out with the podcast and whatnot. And then it was the next year when you decided to make the move here, right? 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And, like to me, I feel like it's just dope watching him grow. And when he came here and immediately clicked up with everybody here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though he didn't have a bike at the time, So I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that it was keeping me in Texas, because I had already talked with him and all the guys about, I'm going to move to Colorado.
Yeah, that was a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, and but then I started working with him, and I was like, okay, I'm probably just going to do this. So yeah, it's his fault I moved here because he fired me. I'm just kidding.
It was kind of like a, hey, you don't have to show up today or tomorrow. It's like when you have somebody working for you, like your days look different, man. Like all of a sudden, you're not thinking about, you're thinking about getting these jobs done and paying the bills, but you also have that weekly bill of making sure that your employees are getting their paychecks. Mm-hmm. And in my world, I still have to work on the paint job. So it'd be different if Sax like came in, started a paint job, finished the paint job. I never had to touch it. The same way someone could come in and do an oil change and you don't have to touch it. Mm-hmm. Well, I have to touch everything that he touched afterwards in order to make money. So if I get bottlenecked, then he's just kind of sitting over there until I finish things, and that's how he makes money. So, and for him to get to a point where he was painting, he would be painting on the level that our shop puts out. Like, I mean, he could paint quickly, but consistently, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Just like earlier, that's something that takes time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for me to be able to say, all right, well, here, paint this bike black. I'm going to go do this trip out to fucking, North Carolina real quick. Just get this done. And, he knows the whole process, but it's the experience will show you how to solve those little problems that pop up.
Yeah.
And solve them yourself. And I always say, like, the difference between, problem solvers and people that need problem solvers around us to finish the job. It's hard to say that to him because he doesn't know all the aspects of, custom paint or painting in general, right? So it's hard for him to solve those problems that he doesn't even know.
He hasn't run into that problem yet.
Yeah. So, and that's all that's literally the only income that the Fast Life Garage has. We only have paint work and what we make by doing podcasts, so you add the rising cost of like the shop and, cost of living. And then, it's just, I already got my hands full with all these other things. So the last thing, like I just can't take in you take in too much work, and then you're just working to cover the bills. So it's almost like get rid of more bills, live really lean. That way I'm touching everything and doing everything. And I feel like the quality goes up because, you know, I'm more focused on it, right? And so, like I said, I made the joke before we went live or started recording. It was like, Sax is now everything that I need in Dallas right now. Like making videos, like editing, you know, capturing. Like if he was in Dallas, we'd be doing a weekly drop too. You know what I mean? Because we could focus a couple of days on capturing, and then he could spend the rest of the week editing. You know, which is what a lot of the people out there, you know, your Cruisies and your Thrashings and those guys are doing. You know, they carve out a little bit of time every week to go film something, and then they hand it off to the guy that edits everything, and then they go back to work for those other 3 days getting their normal jobs done. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
I mean, I did get most of my inspiration while I was working there, and experience with a camera, you know, even if it was just moving lights and just watching what was going on. Really helped me in my vision.
Almost everybody that comes and helps at the shop becomes a photographer afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
Zach Lot Lizard got into it. Now Devin's kind of helping out. He's getting into the camera stuff.
Big Will Cody.
Yeah. So I think the camera stuff is just I think for other people on the outside looking in, it feels cool to create something.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you can take a really cool picture, or you start seeing how they get taken, then that becomes interesting, and you want to try that and be a part of that, you know? And for some minds, obviously, that's not like across the board. So, but it was, I mean, he already had the desire to want to get into creating stuff content-wise, but photography and videography, even though there's a lot of elements that kind of are the same, they're kind of two different purposes.
Yeah.
You know, in some aspects. So I'm more into
different.
photography.
Yeah,
than
photography is
video.
definitely, I think, way different. I think than video. Photography takes, I don't know, you're almost looking for a shot that, you know, is going to like strike emotion in somebody.
Yep. That's it. It's art.
You know, it's, you have to see something in a way that you think is going to catch someone's eye later on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I started just wanting to do video. I wasn't even thinking about photography. And then once I got that first camera and took my first photo, I was like, oh, I like this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Mama Tried. You're going?
Yeah, apparently the FXR is supposed to be featured there, which I'm fucking thrilled about.
So in the show then?
Yeah, in the show.
Okay.
And I, you know, to be completely honest with you, I'm not a bike show person. Like I've never built a bike that I feel like is a show bike. You know?
That bike is.
I mean, you could say that. The purpose is not show bike. I like to make them as pretty as possible and then fuck them up, right? Riding them across country, doing all that kind of stuff. So that's, right now it's only got one good trip under its belt. So it's going to get worse, you know? But for me, I think that, you know, that's one of the things I've never really got to experience, is kind of like being a part of those kind of more curated artistic kind of shows, like a Mama Tried or, you know, One Moto show or Hand Built, and, you know, all these different types of vibes. Like I want to be in those. I want to see what it's like to be a person that's had a bike in it, is just as much as I want to see what it's like to be a spectator there. You know,
Have you never been to Mama Tried?
Yeah, I went once.
Okay.
Yeah. When they did the makeup year in 2021.
Oh, okay.
Or two, or it was something, I think it was 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was in love with that. I love that city, and I love that.
The city's cool.
Vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember at one of the shows that year, somebody said, like, Mama Tried's the reason you came, but Milwaukee is the reason you're going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one.
You know what I mean? Which I think is true. Like, after being there and spending some time in the city. Yeah. But I love that show and the One Moto show.
I haven't been to that one yet, but I want to go to.
They're both, they're not your typical bike show. It's an art show.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is I don't even know if there's like somebody wins.
I don't think there is.
And
there's
good
not
with
like
that.
best of show or people's choice, or there's no sort of voting like on who's the coolest.
Yeah.
It's just there's some art pieces on display, and you go and you look at all of them and appreciate them for just that, what they are, as a piece of art, a piece of something that somebody built.
And that's kind of the same concept that I'm getting at with like doing photography and stuff, is I want to create stuff to where people are consuming it or seeing it or experience it in real life. So I want to get to a point where people are seeing my photography in other forms other than their phone, you know, or I want them to see the bike in real life and walk around it and catch it at different angles and seeing the paint with the lighting from the venue, you know, hit the flake. Like, I want people to take in the real feeling of being present around cool shit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of on the shitter, doom scrolling, you know, like being present. That's something that like I want people to see and experience the bike that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think if you can do that in photography, it's hard, because where does your photography live if it's not on social media?
That's a conversation him and I were having on the way up here.
Where do you put it anymore? Like,
That's I tried just a little trial run with metal print. You know, I took votes, put it on my story. I was like, hey, these are the photos that I think, you know,
could be hung up.
You know, people would appreciate being hung in their garage or even in their house. And, you know, had people vote, and then I got kind of an idea on what people like.
What people were digging?
Yeah. And then, you know, bought a set of the top voted ones and kind of put them out there to see, you know, it's like, hey, who wants some? They're available.
Is it working?
No.
Go buy. That's what I'm telling. I mean, people need to go buy that shit then. I mean, I think.
Well, the hard part for a photographer, and this is something that we haven't actually got to this part of our conversation, so I guess we can finish it here. I got a lot of great pictures of my bike and my wife. Two things I don't think you want to hang on your wall, right? So as a photographer, I've got to grow in a way to start shooting things that can feel like, even though it may be my bike or whatever, it's not a product photography. I'm not trying to show you how good my paint job is or how whatever it is, right?
It's not a picture of your bike. It's a picture of a landscape with a motorcycle in it.
It's an experience. Like you said, it evokes an emotion when you see it. So you got to find a way to shoot. And I think the shots that he's got, that he put up, I think they do that. You know,
Really?
of Chandler's RP that he has and the lighting, it's like, it's a vibe, right? But most people are, you know, for lack of a better term, I don't think most men have enough control, and control is probably the wrong word. They don't have enough say of what gets hung up in their house, right? So a man's not going to be able to buy a picture of a motorcycle or motorcycle related content and hang it up in the dining room or in the living room or wherever the case may be. So it might be relegated to a man cave, a garage, or maybe their shop or their office, right? But, and I'm kind of glad this brought up, because this is kind of a kick that I've been on, that I've been practicing, and I found it to be very rewarding and whatnot as an option to social media. And like, so you've been to my shop. My shop has kind of like always been my bedroom, right? It's all the shit that I like. It's not pictures of me everywhere, although there are pictures of me. It's like the concept is about putting up things that inspire me and being in those spaces all the time. You're constantly around other art, whether it's photography from other photographers or posters of bikes that were badass that you love, or, you know, I have a whole wall of David Mann paintings downstairs now that's fucking sick. And every time I walk past it, I'm just staring at it and it inspires me, you know? In my house, I bought a bookshelf, I bought a nice couch, and I bought some nice lights. And I take my little speaker, which I think I'm about to get records. I'm going full chopper, dude, on everybody. I'm going full
You got
vintage.
the beanie on.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm bald headed and it's cold up here, but I want to hear. So, so I put on music or a podcast or something, and I sit on the couch with this lighting, and I either flip through a magazine and read some of the articles. And I'm talking about like Dice magazines, maybe some old show class, just something where the photography it's more focused on quality photography rather than just, here's a picture of this bike in 4 angles and there's a Harbor Freight ad on the next page, right? And books, you know, finding some photography-based books that are around motorcycles, which there's actually quite a bit, to be honest with you. And by sitting there, listening to a good song or a good podcast and flipping through this and maybe a little bit of reading, maybe just I feel so much better and inspired rather than if I sat on the couch and did this and then I finally find a cool picture or something and I click on it and there's no context, you don't know who the photographer was. It's just like a repost from a repost from a repost page. So you've lost the original creator of the thing. And it's like and
then you scroll on and you forget all about it.
You forget about it. Yeah. So I found it like sitting there, listening to good music, creating a vibe to where and I'm not even touching my phone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I found that I enjoy that experience. So I've actually been buying other people's, prints and photography books when they come out that I can afford, like some prints are pretty expensive and more power to them, but getting people to it's hard, like we don't live in a day and age where people think about the walls of their house as art places to put things that inspire them. They typically put things that they think other people are going to want to see if they come to their house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have that argument at my house.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough that like my wife, she works in the industry here. I mean, she's into it. Like in our dining room, I got a big ass print of like the Born Free logo that I bought when I was in Born Free.
Nice.
That's framed and stuff hanging on the wall. And, and it's cool to me. I would rather, like I told her, I would rather hang that up because I walk by that and I see it and it's cool. I appreciate the artwork in it. It also reminds me of where I was at when I bought it.
Yep.
I'd rather hang that up than just go down to,
Target
and just buy some random picture of something and hang it up. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. Like I want to fill the walls with something that means something to me.
Exactly. Inspire you. Whether that inspiration is just you reliving a moment of your time. And that's the whole concept of photography in the first place. Mm-hmm. When you put pictures up of your friends and family and in different parts of the house or whatever, going and doing podcasts across country, and I've gotten to sit in a lot of really awesome people's living rooms, like Michael Lichter, who in his house is like a curated art world.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Like original Danny Lyon pictures and the original books and other things from other people. It's like you go in there and you feel like I could sit on the wall. I could sit in there and just look at different things, different books on his bookshelf. And I'm inspired by being in this man's house versus, he could have made it a lot more trendy,
Yeah.
He could have had the those things that you see on Facebook or Instagram where it's like, hey, take this picture of Jules from Pulp Fiction and, then it's 3 different canvases and you spread them apart. Or what's the other one with like Harry from Dumb and Dumber taking the shit, It's like, those are funny and they have a place. But at the same time, I feel like it's almost like in order to get people to want and like photography, you have to you got to show it to them differently. And I think all of us got used to just trying to take cool pictures for Instagram. And now we got to figure out how do we take cool pictures and get them in a way where people walk by them and see them, it does what art's supposed to do, which is move you, And some of that might be taking pictures that are less about the product that you're trying to exploit and more about try to create or catch a vibe of what you're trying to invoke, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like it's more being more intentional with everything you're doing. Like there's things that I'm going to shoot with my camera that are strictly for Instagram and for a purpose. Mm-hmm. But then there's things when I'm going on a bike trip that I want to capture for maybe a blog, which I find to be so much more enjoyable to read people's blogs these days than read their Instagram profiles, But that's just me, It's hard to convince everybody to go read, and I'm not even good at it, but just in general, like who the fuck wants to read? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for people listening, I think we need to challenge people to put their phones down and pick up a magazine or a book, or like you said, like turn on some music, open up, even if it's just a picture book.
Yeah.
But just to hold it in your hand and do some light reading, read someone's bio, whatever. Mm-hmm. Because I think as much as we all rely and we love our phones and our social media, we got to try and step back a little bit from that stuff.
Agreed.
And start to appreciate, relearn how to appreciate something that's not on our phone again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I find it, I'm guilty of it myself.
Same. I mean,
And I look at my kids and I'm like, you guys need to put those phones away. Like, read a magazine, read a book.
yeah.
Do something besides just that, like you said, that death scroll. Just,
Yeah.
you get so sucked into it.
And I think that more and more people are probably in some form or fashion feeling the same way about like social media and the emptiness that kind of comes from some aspects of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's things on there that's fun to watch. Like it's like Chopsky recently just did that shoot with the Concrete Cowboys. And we all know there's some crazy video of CJ Barham doing a wheelie, jumping a ramp over like a drainage ditch or something. We know that's going to come out soon.
Yeah.
So there's that part that I'm stoked about that.
Yeah.
And I'll watch that. But that's a small blip in my day.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend the rest of the day. Trust me, look, social media is a great tool if you use that as a tool. But if you use it as like a catch-all, be-all of everything of entertainment, then you're going to get lost in that and lost in comparison of never trying to be never trying to grow yourself, more or less.
Yeah.
And I think that in time, when more people, when more photographers that are in the motorcycle scene, they start going out and trying to create, photo books. Put your art, put your photos somewhere else, and make people work a little harder to get them. You might not sell a bunch or sell. You're not going to get rich off of it, right? Mm-hmm. But there's integrity behind the fact that you're creating something you're proud of, and hopefully the world will respect it. If not, you can always stand there and go, "I'm proud of what the fuck I made."
Yeah.
I didn't sell out and start TikTok dancing to be relevant anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think the challenge, that I would say for people is, put down your phones for a while, get off social media for a while. One, it's going to improve your life. Mm-hmm. And two, like if you start looking for other avenues, of entertainment, you're going to start to notice Sax's photos, or somebody else. You're going to start to appreciate this stuff that's not all for Instagram. And so not only are you going to improve your life, but it's kind of like that whole like shop local type mentality. You know,
100%.
If all you're doing is scrolling and looking at free photos, like what is that doing for you, and what's it doing to support those that are out there trying to just support a habit or make a living off of their photography?
When the camera phone came along, that was, we all became photographers, and I'm guilty of that as well. I think, I wasn't some guy in 2002, in a dark room trying to make prints, So Instagram, as much as I'm on this podcast talking shit about it, like 90% of like everything I do in my life is because I was influenced or inspired through Instagram. My wife is from Instagram. Most of my friends are from Instagram. My business all thrives on Instagram. And so
you can't shit on it because you said, it's a tool.
But it's just different now.
It's morphing. And I think it's gone too far and it needs to swing back the other way just a little bit. And we all need to realize where it belongs in our life.
Yeah.
And focus again on all the shit that we like totally dropped. We dropped books, we dropped magazines, we dropped prints. Like nobody gave a shit about that stuff for a while because it was all just like social media. It's like we need to swing back and like, look at that stuff again.
Quality magazines. So that's the other thing. So not to put it all on the consumer, but also to put it on the creators of it. And I'm not singling anybody out, and this is not about anybody in general. But if you putting out a shitty or a subpar magazine is no different than making subpar content, right? You're just doing it to do it, to say it's there. Like, quality photography, quality stories, like literally going out and finding, doing real journalism for this motorcycle world that we live in creates a better product, and it gives people more of an incentive to sit down and read the articles, understand those things, and understand that what's being portrayed in these magazines. Like it's also up to the job of these magazine creators to create something nice, or the people that are making books, or the photographers. It's not just, hey, I took a picture and you won't buy it, you're a bad person. Mm-hmm. It's you got to create something people want, and if they don't want it but you're proud of it, then you got to try to find a way to inspire people to want to be a part of it.
Well, and the bar's been raised,
yeah,
like what people expect anymore.
Yeah,
you can't just put out some shitty magazine because it's not the only source for someone to.
Yeah. And most people aren't buying magazines anyway. So for them to go out of their way and go to your website and order it and then to get it, it's no different than in 2002 when you went and got the damn Ludacris album and it had one good song on it.
Yeah.
And you had no way to know that the other 18 songs were garbage.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same concept,
yeah,
you know?
Totally.
They got away with that for a long time, but Spotify put them in their place.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a different world, and you just have to adapt. I mean, you got to adapt.
Yeah.
Figure out how to be better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. There's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
There's no going back to the way it was. So you got to adapt. You got to figure it out, and
Yeah, if more
or die, right?
If more photographers were also like carrying the same notion of promoting this, like if it was a unified thing where photographers were all supporting each other's, like, you know, small shows, like art shows, like we were trying to curate this thing. I had a thing going in Dallas that literally this weekend we were going to do an indoor like exhibition of like maybe 5 builders and have 5 invited photographers and then have some other artists invited as well that were kind of in other mediums or formats or whatever. And everything was set up, but we were trying to cover the hotel costs for all the invited people, and we couldn't get the sponsorships to come through in time for the time I needed to sign the contract with the building. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to be out possibly having to pay 10 grand out of my pocket to put this show together that I initially was trying to create because I wanted to put my photography out there.
Yeah.
But really quickly found out that I wasn't even going to have time to shoot the things that I envisioned shooting for the event. So we're going to try to push it off another year. And, you know, but if you're a photographer and you do motorcycle stuff, like why not put some shit together for you? Like, for instance, now, like, why not put some shit together and say, hey, Tony, like, you think we can like have a shop party one night and then I could put some prints up and it could be like a little art show and then I can have some stuff for sale and people, you know, motorcycles and beer, bring them here, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's, hey, man, like after they have a couple beers, like, I mean, I actually like that photo, man. How much is that, a print? Yeah, fuck, I'll pay $40 for that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Roll it up, put it in there, and maybe they hang it in their garage. Maybe they throw it away. You know, I don't know, right? But it doesn't have to be that any more complicated than that to put together cool shit. Mm-hmm. And all these brands that have benefited off photographers for the last how many years, why not do that for them? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why not, hey, man, I'm going to put this together because you've made the content that I put out here, or just you shooting pictures of my bikes all the time, you know? Like, it's
got to give back a little bit.
Everybody has to give back. You know what I mean?
No, that's a good idea. I like that. I mean, it's cool.
You know, and then it's like y'all have a rich community here in the Salt Lake area with, you know, photographers and content creators. It's like, why not have like a big event? Like, why not get together and all the bike shops pull up and help do whatever the photographers want to do and make it a big event. Next thing you know, we have a new Mama Tried in Salt Lake City. Mm-hmm. It might have been just a garage party for one, but the 10th year of it is like the stadium downstairs or some cool venue.
I do want to look into Party at the Pen.
Yeah.
Because that's like a chopper show, but also I think the vibe there is also an art show as well. So I'd like to get in on that. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been to it. Like when was it this year?
Oh, fuck.
I think
it was Labor Day weekend, right?
Yeah.
And we were in Four Corners.
Yeah.
So it was the same weekend. So I had some buddies that went up there, and they say it. I mean, they say it's killer.
See, it's even like with Trevor.
Vibe.
You know, I haven't brought this up to Trevor, but why? You know, Trevor's looking for ways to make Four Corners a badass experience. Why not find a way to kind of bring some art into it? You know, we all love David Mann, right? Yeah. Everybody loves a David Mann painting, but why don't we support the modern day David Manns? You know, the modern day guys that are out there, you know, trying to, you know, we don't have magazines to put photography in anymore to the same degree that there was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But everybody still likes it. Everybody wants a good shot of them. Hey, man, did you get any shots of me on that ride? And, you know, it's like, it's never, hey, man, actually it is. I'll a lot of people do reach out and say, hey, if you got a good shot, I'd love to buy it from you. And I totally appreciate that. Usually I'm like, do no worry, here. Yeah. Thank you. It's like, I want you to buy it. Just, I want to know that you would have bought it. I guess it's kind of a little play on, you know.
It's a respect thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, as long as you feel like they respected you enough to say, hey, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
You're cool with them. Other than be like, hey, man, just give it to me for free.
If you had a photographer take some badass pictures of you and that's the most liked content on your fucking Instagram, why don't you throw an appreciation post out there once in a while?
Yeah.
You know, like, how much did that one photo that you posted on your page that you didn't take, somebody took with thousands of dollars of equipment and time they invested to get good at it? Why don't you just say, hey, man, thank you. This is this guy. Y'all follow him, or just whatever. Like, it's not always got to be a financial thing, but I mean, artists crave validation, and it's one of our flaws.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what makes us want to keep creating things and doing for people, is when we feel like people appreciate it. You know, we'll keep spending money on more equipment to make free shit.
This is my appreciation post, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking all those photos and video.
Yeah, thanks,
appreciate
Jordan.
It.
You are appreciated.
I don't know. You get me started, you get me riled up. I start, whatever. But it's also, it's not like because I have a camera that you have to show me, whatever. It's like you have to, if I'm taking shitty photos, man, hey, man, nice job. Keep getting better. You know what I mean? Whatever.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, you might be sick of talking about it because it's probably consumed your life for a majority of this year, but is the FXR tour.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The concept, or what do you want to know about it?
All of it from the beginning. I mean, the concept, like where the idea came from, and then, how did you select the dudes that build bikes?
Because it's one of those things that's lost in more or less translation, I think, through people just not listening to podcasts about it, or really diving into the the blogs or whatever we've created that's not just a post on Instagram. So my friend Justin, my machinist, and we've over the years supported another buddy's camp out, the Down South camp out, and we were all there in 2022, and Justin and I had got good favor with Mike and Grant from Born Free through the Born Free Texas stuff, to where they kind of mentioned possibly Justin and I getting a Harley build for this past 2023's Born Free California. Like, how they do the Harleys for everybody. So we were kind of on the docket for that. And that was kind of like we were told, but we don't know what's going on. We don't know if it's going to happen. And what was going on is like we all love FXRs, right? Like they're just fun bikes to build. They kind of can go many different directions, as you saw from the builds from the tour. But Justin kind of at the table, we're all drinking. He goes, man, like, let's get like you and our other buddy Mark and our other buddy Tiny. Like, let's all build FXRs and then ride them to Sturgis. Like just a friendly competition amongst the middle, like us. And I was like, man, like, dude, like I'm down, but I think we can, Mike from Born Free asked if we can create something for Born Free Texas. And I know that Justin had recently gone down some of the biker build-off kicks, watching some of that on YouTube. And so I'm like, what if we kind of did it like hot bike tour style, biker build-off style, where we create not like a show, like you build a bike and bring it to Born Free Texas and set it in the field for the whole time. But what if we set it up where they all have to meet somewhere and ride these bikes 1,000 miles to get to the event, right? And so through lots of conversations, we started curating the concept and the premise behind it. And this is what it is for everybody that doesn't, do any research or whatever. We put every builder in a group chat together. So everybody thinks that it was a competition, and there's zero competition amongst every one of those bikes built. It was a collaboration. It was imagine if you're in a group chat with your friends and some of y'all are building bikes and you're all trying to get ready for Sturgis or Four Corners or your set event, right? And that's all it was, is people busting each other's balls when we had the opportunity and helping out when we didn't, right? And you get all the builders in there, so there's 10 of us total. And, one guy's, having a problem finding this, and then this guy helps him find it. And, everything that could be helped, that's what it was about, was helping each other build bikes. And the real competition, or the real goal, was just to see everybody show up with the bikes they built and make the ride. Now, as far as picking the builders, the concept of that was Justin and I are guys in the industry, me a little bit longer than him in that aspect. We never get asked to build bikes for anything. And funny thing is, like, in some degree, I'm not really a bike builder like a lot of other people, right? But we don't ever get asked for that stuff. No one ever goes, hey, we're looking for some, invited builders to this or whatever. So we're like, what if we let's create it and let's find a couple people that are kind of big names that can kind of help validate this. Mm-hmm. And then let's fill it in with some guys that we know that do killer stuff and are really passionate about FXRs and this platform that don't get opportunities, right? And I wouldn't say don't get opportunities, but I felt like they never got the opportunity to get out there. Clem's Speed Shop was one of those guys that, like, I fucking love that dude's vibe, his builds, his bikes, his style, like everything about the Clem Speed Shop world, I think is rad. And I was so stoked when he said, yeah, I have a bike that I think I can get done. And he fucking got it done and showed up. It was way too much of a bike to ride on the street because he was initially building a land speed bike, but he was trying to make it to where it also could ride 1,000 miles. And when he started it up in Durango, he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I have a $20,000 motor in here that's supposed to go do something else in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So he decided not to ride the bike on the tour, which I heard that some of the FXR nerds out there got real butthurt about. But the point is, he built a bike that is different.
Well, let's see them put a $20,000 motor built for something else out on the road just for Instagram.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But he rode another FXR he built the entire way, and it was killer. And the bike was still on every stop on display to show everybody. So there's a lot of things, a lot of rules that Justin and I kind of put on the table initially, kind of out of the idea of what this should be. And as we did the tour, some of those things felt kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. They felt kind of like a restriction for no reason, And yes, we do want everybody to ride the bikes on the tour, but I'm kind of not mad that he didn't. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, I understand. Like, I don't want you to blow up that. If you know what he had to do to show up to that event, there's no way you would even question.
Yeah.
The dude had so much on his plate, so many things happening. Like, I was worried that he wasn't going to be able to make it. He showed up, and that's the thing about, like, this whole, where you're consuming this content from, you're not getting the whole story. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's not money in it for us to show you the whole story. Like, we didn't have the money to go buy a production crew. We got Sax hanging out the back of a truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's, like, money helps make things better, right? But then you got people that don't want people to make money in the motorcycle industry, which makes no fucking sense to me at all. But that's another argument for another time. The tour was, so like I said, we had a couple big names. So we had, our FXR division, our bare knuckle Paul. I have a known brand, but I wouldn't say I have a big name in that world the way those guys do, And then you have guys like Main Drive, who kind of flies under the radar, but is one of the, kind of one of the cleanest, nicest builders out there, and people, right?
Sure.
Rennie, is one of those guys that I know his passion for FXRs, and he had never had an opportunity to build something like this. And I think that he rose to the occasion as much, if not more, than everybody else did in some ways.
Yeah, he went all out on his.
He built something totally different, and he showed up, and people gave him shit because he didn't ride from Durango to the first stop, but he rode half of it. What his decision is his decision, and I'm not mad at him either way. I think initially there was big vast parts where there was no gas stops, and he was kind of worried because he only was getting 70 miles to a tank. Because, like I said, learning, he put his petcock a little too high, so it didn't get all the gas out of the tank. That's a learning curve thing, right? But his bike, I mean, dude, it's so photogenic. When he's riding it down the road, it's just, like, you can't not want to take a picture of that bike. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a hot chick going down the road. You can't not look at it, right? My machinist, he went straight Tron on us, basically. Built like this Inception style headlight thing going crazy.
On.
Yeah. He brought what he's good at to the table, and his bike is badass. And the color choices, the way it all came together. FXR division built a monoshock, which is already wild. FXR frame, But they also hard mounted a Softail platform motor, M8 Softail platform motor in it, and then made it all look factory. Right? Mm-hmm. Like for most people, they just walk by. Oh, it's another RP.
Looks like a stock bike.
Yeah, but dude, you look into it and that thing is dialed. You know, so that's, you got that. Then you have, TPJ built the shovel head, which I think he had to pull the shovel head out because last minute something happened to that, so he put an Evo in it, rode it. He was on the ride from Phoenix, and then the oil bag bracket broke, or the rubber grommet failed. And then it arced out his starter, and then he had electrical problems the rest of the tour, right? Still showed up, still partied, and everybody, TBJ. It's like, he's
going to have a good time wherever he goes.
He's the best person to talk shit to.
Oh, dude, he's such a punk.
And we had a FXR Bazaar was initially a part of it as well, but he had some things pop up in personal life that became way more pressing than trying to build a bike. And fortunately, the Saddleman guys and Heath Pinter was able to step up with a build that I kind of knew was going on already. Mm-hmm. But when he stepped up, it was like there was still time for him not to unveil it anywhere else. And that's kind of the other thing is like you couldn't have a bike almost done. You can't finish this bike in March. Like you can't take it anywhere. Like, let me rephrase that. I took mine in the ride to Durango to the Run to Terralingua event, because I wanted to take the pictures of the bike to show the world the finished product in that spot, in that area. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I didn't go to a show, I went to a run on the way to the ride. So there's a technicality that I kind of found there, a loophole, if you will. But you couldn't take the bike to Sturgis and then put it back on the trailer and then bring it back out 2 months later for the FXR tour.
You wanted the tour to kind of be...
Yeah. You built a bike.
Show the bikes off for the first time here at Durango.
You need that. You need it to be that way for people to care. Because if they saw the bike at Sturgis, then that's one of 10 people that now everybody's already seen it.
Yeah.
Like there's no draw to that.
Yeah.
Ashley, so there's 9 builders, right? And then the 9 builders get together, and we had people that are more or less garage guys, people that aren't a brand in a shop, in a LLC shop kind of thing, building bikes. Like obviously these guys are probably proficient enough to have a shop and build bikes, but they don't have a shop, right?
Sure.
So we had anybody that fit that bill send an email in, almost like a resume, but tell us what you're building, what it's about, what you're going to do, what your plan is, and who you are, what you're about. And Chandler did a really good one. He was up on that list of people wanting to get into it. But Ashley's is kind of more magical, I guess you'd say. The dude shut down his business and shop in London. His wife had an opportunity to move to the States. He came with her, started, now he's in his garage, like trying to figure out the United States market, build bikes, customize. And he ended up being like the best pick for that because, I mean, his whole family from the UK flew in and rented bikes and rode on the tour with us.
Oh, really?
He rode on the tour with his son and his father. Like 3 generations riding across America. They're all from the, United Kingdom or whatever they call that place. Is it London? UK.
Yeah. It's all the same to me.
Yeah, it's like Europe, right? You couldn't have asked for a better
That's a cool story. Yeah.
And that's what we want it to be about, And we got a lot of flack when we initially talked about the builders that were kind of picked for the tour. And that's because I think that the FXR world's echo chamber that they're in, they've already kind of labeled who they think is FXR and is not FXR. But what I don't think they understand is that FXR has been going on for a long time. Whether it's the hamster style stuff or the different phases and iterations of what people have done to FXRs. And there's not one body or one group out there that owns anything FXR
gets to
related.
Dictate who is and who isn't.
And the other thing that I think people were having a hard time swallowing is that we were calling them custom built bikes. And I think people's idea of what custom built bikes and what we were trying to have on the tour were kind of, there was a blurred line there, right? Because obviously there's a lot of very nice bikes dialed in, super nice, expensive bikes, but they have factory paint jobs on it. They have factory this. All they have is a thunder header and a set of, it looks like it came from the dealer that way with a thunder header, some taller bars, and maybe a little bit of suspension on it. But it's clean, it's dialed, it's chromed, it's this. That's a good looking bike. But I want bikes that people are like, what the fuck is that? Mm-hmm. I want custom, like, I don't want it to look like it came from the factory that way, personally. Now, we have no control over that going forward, because in order to get rid of all the slack and all the drama that comes from anything people try to create in this fucking industry, we wanted to get every builder to now pick their successor for the next year, right? So instead of everybody messaging myself or Justin like, hey, man, I really want to be on the FXR tour next year, like, we just said, well, first off, you should have built a bike anyway and showed up, like a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. Because then you could meet some of these builders and be in a better position to possibly be picked for the next year. And if you think you're going to build one bike in your life and you're done, you're fucking way out of line. Yeah. All right. So if you're going to build bikes, you're going to build multiple bikes. So we've had it to where every builder is now picking somebody else that is a brand, is a shop. And then that 8 or 9 people will then have to decide for themselves who the 10th builder will be through the email system again, right? So we're always going to have that little wild card, somebody in their garage kind of vibe going on.
Sure. And I love that idea.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
The concept now, we're losing a little bit of control over this by letting all the other builders pick the new builders. They could pick really badass guys. They could pick guys that don't take it seriously. That's the hard part. That's the gamble. That's rolling the dice for us right now. But
so what, going forward, like, what's your involvement going to look like? Like, if you have to pick a successor,
yeah,
like,
well, the show still has to get ran. We covered the hotel rooms for every builder and every stop. We got every builder their own booth at Born Free, Texas, and we're constantly trying to find more ways to incentivize and bring more attention towards every builder on the tour. Right, that all takes a lot of work. We had a knife made by a local knife maker, knives made by Nick. We had 10 knives made by him. That wasn't cheap. Mm-hmm. These are handmade knives. These aren't, some, stamped out, run-of-the-mill things. These are handmade knives that were made in order to give a builder something that either A, they can use every day the way I use mine, or they can hang it up and it can be a trophy. But we wanted it to mean something. And that was like $4,000. So that was $4,000. Covering the hotel rooms for 3 different stops for 10 people, that was thousands of dollars. We have to raise that money. There's no money being brought in from this. We're not selling anything. Mm-hmm. So we have to get sponsorships, and the way you get sponsorships is to provide a way where those sponsorships can get attention to their brand. So there's still a business side of it that has to be done. And it's a lot of work. Trust me, we were talking about that too on the way up here. I'm just like, man, fuck. It's a lot of work because, how you got to raise another $15,000, another $20,000 to try to help these builders out. And, because it's, you're spending thousands, for some people, if you're making all these parts or you're building a custom bike, some of this stuff's on the shelf and some of it ain't. Some of it you have to go get a custom seat done by a custom seat maker, mm-hmm. right? Or you got to get a custom exhaust done, or you do that, or you got to get it painted. Like, people are spending money on stuff no matter what. So then to have to, let's say, like, if you're starting in Durango and your FXR division, that's not that bad. You're 6 hours away.
Yeah.
But if you're Clem Speed Shop in Detroit and you got to go all the way to Durango to then go to Dallas or East Texas, or Ashley from the Boston area, Connecticut area, all the way across, it's an expensive thing, mm-hmm. And so if we could cover the hotels or try to, mitigate some of that expense, then that's what we want to do as like the more or less promoters of the tour, right? But it's hard, man. Like, now we're back at the drawing boards trying to find new sponsors, trying to find new ways to bring more attention towards it. And the thing is that, like, the builders have to be they got to self promote. That's the one thing that a lot of people in some of these aspects, they don't want to do that. They want to be a builder. But we need you to make a post every Friday and tag at FXR Tour and tag these sponsors that are paying for these things every Friday. And we all missed some Fridays, don't get us wrong. But,
Sure.
we're trying to make something different where it was kind of like built for us, by us. You know what I mean? A little FUBU action. But at the same time, like, I could see how quickly I would love to get more money to make it better and bigger, but I could see how quickly that turns into a job in where I also need to get a paycheck for how much time and effort I'm putting into this. So that's the tough place.
That's the hard part, man, is how do you keep it organic, grassroots, real?
Yeah. And how do you,
But make it happen?
And how do you make money off the backs of other people building bikes? That's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
It's different if like we're putting on a show and you pay for a ticket to get into the show, and we make money doing that. So it kind of justifies the time that we spent and the effort. But unless we're really creating something, and that's the thing that Justin and I are on the, drawing board now, is figuring out how do we provide the most attention and attraction towards these builders while they're also promoting and self-promoting, right? Because we could start it, we have an Instagram page for it, but I think it's better that like people follow the hashtag and they go see the builders directly and get more involved in each builder instead of them giving me a post and then I put it in one place where everybody can lazily just look at all the shit.
Yeah. It's probably more valuable for the builder, really. But the problem is the builder the builder needs to see the value in it. Maybe they don't see the value in it.
Every builder, so if you ask anybody that was on the tour, they will tell you how much fun they had, how it relit motorcycles enthusiasm. Because you understand, you're in the group chat. The group chat is almost more helpful and whatnot for each individual builder than the entire experience. Like if you're a guy like Rennie and he said this, now he is personal friends and knows and connects with a bare knuckle Paul, right? So wherever you're at on the builder scale of things, to be in a group chat with some people that are, way more experienced in a lot of areas. Honestly, man, you're getting an opportunity to go to school right now.
Yeah.
Like, you should be paying us for this. No, not really. But so it's hard. It's hard to try to figure out how to justify, which it's easy to justify, but how to palette or how to present it to the world where it's like, look, we're not trying to get rich off of creating this, but we are trying to cover it to the point where if I'm losing time at the shop working, there's still like, at least I can pay the light bill.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if not, like I said, it's not a big deal. I think it's needed and wanted. It's heavily needed and wanted, but you also don't want to get so many hands on it that it becomes like a blown out, like we're only going to go after the biggest name people, and then the opportunity for other people to come up is off the table again.
I like the idea of having, up and comers or maybe some dudes that would never get the spotlight, giving them the opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty, one of the nice things about it.
Yeah. I mean, some of the biggest builders get asked all the time to build stuff for different events that they have to turn shit down. Right. But you got somebody out there that's hungry, that just wants an opportunity. Give me a reason to build something. I'm going to do everything I can to show up and show out. And that's what we got out of a lot of the guys. And I know I was the same way. I wanted to prove a point. And, the experience for me was kind of life-changing to the point where I tapped into certain aspects of customizing and building a bike that I hadn't felt in a long time, and some of it I never felt before, and it's fucking intoxicating. Even though the only thing I physically welded and made on that bike was the exhaust, and I didn't even make the pipe, I bought that on Amazon. I just made the headers, right? That was probably the most amazing feeling doing that, and it actually not breaking, to where now I have a desire to want to do what we said earlier. I bought a welder. I have some fabrication tools now that I've been acquiring, and I'm not here yet at all. I'm not cutting off the ass end of a sports dirt and hardtailing it yet, but I want to get there. I want to start now, start taking up some more stainless, play with a little steel, and then eventually I'll be there and I can, scratch that itch or say that I built this frame. My goal is to get to the point where I can make the frame that Corey made for me on the FXR. And I'm nowhere. It's not going to happen this year. It'll probably be a couple years. And I'm okay with that because I'm not doing it because I'm not going down that path because it's like, okay, I want to do this so I can make money. I'm doing this because there's something different about riding a bike that you made things for versus you bought things for, you know?
For sure.
And it sucks because I don't want to talk shit about that because that's still a badass experience. You got a performance bagger, you bought the exhaust, you bought all these things, you get it on, it changes that feeling. Like that is fucking rad. But for me, and you got to put this line, like if you're a consumer versus if I live off working on motorcycles in some form, I need that deeper connection to a build, you know, to want to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
you make a lot of shit. So like you got a whole fucking fab shop back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in that same boat. I built a frame table, frame jig. I can weld pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot to learn. You know, I have a goal. I want to build a frame from scratch, 100% from scratch.
Yeah.
And write it.
Nice.
That's on my to-do list. You know, I have a couple other projects right now I'm working on that frame table, you know, sharpening my skills to get to that point.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's nothing I need to make happen today or this weekend, but it's just like a long-term goal of something that I will do in my lifetime at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know.
And I'll enjoy the process of getting there.
Yeah, when you finally do make that frame, like that feeling that's going to be there, and knowing the intentional time that you spent getting to that point to be able to create it, you know, dude, that's a different experience, man. That I think that as more and more people in the motorcycle industry of customizing, building, whatever you want to say, or just maintenance people, when you like finding new things to inspire you, that's it. Like have a goal. Like I want to one day make a frame, you know, and then like start making some kind of steps to get to that point of making that frame, right? And that's what I did. I was like, well, fuck, if I get a welder, at least I can, you know, on Amazon, they sell these little practice kits, these little, you know, coupon things where you can make like all kinds of stuff. Just stainless, aluminum, steel. It's like $20 and it's like a day's worth of welding on them, you know? And it's like, if I can't do one of those a week, or if I do one of those a week, no matter what, I'm going to be better in a month.
Yeah.
You know? It's the same thing with photography. If you go shoot every day, you'll be better on Friday. If you edit a photo every day, you'll be better later on. If you custom paint, if you lay out flames on this table right now once a week, eventually you're going to get pretty good at it. You know?
For sure.
If you blow up enough motors,
you're going to figure out how to not do that again.
all right, that didn't work, you know? So yeah, that's that concept, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So the plan with the FXR tour then is to still, like, you're continuing on. It wasn't a one and done.
Plan. Yeah. We're a little behind the curve right now as far as like getting all the details. I think we have all the builders picked, and I think all the builders know who they are. They're kind of just waiting on Justin and I to kind of get some shit rolling. And I'm obviously on this trip right now for at least, I won't be home till the 14th. So I don't know how much will happen till then, but yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So, you know, it's just getting ready for all that effort.
Yeah.
You know, that you got to put into it. It was a lot. There was times last year, Justin and I were both like, what the fuck did we just get ourselves into? You know, being overwhelmed with building a bike and running and curating the whole event.
Yeah.
But we wanted to know what the experience was going to be like so that no one could ever be like, oh, well, you don't know what it's like trying to build a bike and run a business and have a family and travel. And I was like, yeah, we did that and did the event, dude. So we get it. Do you want it? Like, that's the question. Like, do you want it?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. We're going to definitely do it. It's just a matter of trying to figure out all these other details and how to get more money to cover the cost of things, you know, because I feel like we should definitely do that. You know, ask somebody to drive their bike across the country to start at a place and then ride it X amount of miles. The least we can try to figure out how to do is get them into a nice place to sleep every night, you know,
Sure.
Get them a vendor space or something at Born Free, like do something, you know, not just a pat on the back, if you will. So
I'm hoping that this documentary kind of, you know, for the watchers or maybe future builders, you know, it kind of shows them what it really was, you know, going back to what he was talking about earlier, people kind of bashing it or for
Is that
whatever
something that's
reason.
in the works?
Oh yeah, it's almost done.
Yeah.
Documentary style video of the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's badass.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
It was kind of hard just being, you know, one guy and
Yeah.
everyone's kind of everywhere. But I still think I'm able to pull together a story and actually show what it was like to be there.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all individually did interviews for the thing, you know. So each builder interviewed, like myself separately and Justin separately, and then one of us together talking about the tour. So verbally, I think you have plenty of content, but you know, the writing, it was hard to. It's like herding cats, is what it was like.
Yeah.
You know, everybody had their own entourage, their own clique, and trying to get all of them to ride together was hard. And then different, you know, my chopper didn't ride the same speed and stability that, you know, the M8 baggers were. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to, their pace on the highway is 95, 100 miles an hour. Mine's like 75, 85. Mm-hmm. You know, it'll do 95, but it'll let you know, hey, we can't do this for long.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, Justin and I have a lot of things that we learned through doing this thing that obviously, like you said earlier, like if we're not making adjustments and changing, then there's no way we're going to get an event right the first time or perfect, you know. And even next year, fixing the things that we felt like were problems this time, fixing those next year will just illuminate the other things that kind of got overlooked.
Still need work. Yeah.
So it definitely helped me understand what needs to happen, you know, on my part next year when it comes to filming this.
Kind of seeing it from start to finish. Now you know what
I
what
learned
to
a lot
expect.
about, you know, doing something this big.
Yeah.
You know, as one person, I learned a lot, and I plan to, you know, add that to my
resume.
My resume. No, not the video to my resume. My knowledge.
Yeah, add it to the toolbox.
Yeah, add it to the toolbox.
Yeah.
And
Learn something and we'll be better next time.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, the tour thing is a good idea. A lot of people that were involved loved it. The people that, you know, I think a lot of people were hating on the attention it was getting, and that's the whole fucking point of it, was to get attention. You know,
I guess I don't understand the hate for that.
Well, everybody that was trying to sell their FXRs out of the fact that there was so much attention towards FXRs at the time, I mean, they didn't seem to hate it. They obviously didn't want the bike anymore, and they were trying to capitalize off all the attention that FXRs were getting. But, you know, that the world of FXRs is full of some of the best people in the world, but they're very protective over the FXR world because it is such an amazing thing. You know what I mean? Just like that Honda out there.
Yeah, it's nice. Huh?
Better watch out.
It's kind of like punk rock.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Very punk rock, yeah.
It's like if you go mainstream, you're a sellout.
Yep.
Like if you've made it, you're and you're judged for it, or I don't know. It's just I feel like it's similar to like punk music, where you have to just stay grassroots forever. Like you can never make it, and you can never be big, and we have to keep this thing small. We have to keep it underground, like
And you know, to be completely fair, and maybe a little bit of devil's advocate, there's aspects of that I agree with, but there's also aspects of it that, like, it's not like, you know, like I said, the FXR is a 40-year-old bike, you know, some aspects a 30-year-old bike, right? So there's aspects of it that I understand keeping, like, what we currently have in the FXR community, like, good and pure. Like the FXR jams and the FXR show in Sturgis are, in my opinion, still the pinnacle of involvement of everybody, right? So everybody's welcome at an FXR jam. Everybody's welcome to come put their bike in the FXR show, regardless of how much they've done to their bike, right? I think what happened was when we made it to where 10 people could be the highlighted people of this thing, I guess the exclusion of everybody, even though everybody was invited to come ride on the tour, I think that's what kind of like threw people off. And it did bring a lot of attention to FXRs. And there's a lot of my more higher end customers that want FXRs now. But I'm like, well, they're not asking me to build a bike. They're asking, you know, FXR division or, you know, these other people that build FXRs. How do you keep fucking buildings going if you're not making money doing the thing that you started the business for?
Yeah.
If you built a badass bike in your garage and you have a great union job where you don't have to do this for a living, dude, I envy you more than you understand.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us don't have that, and that we have to do this for a living. And honestly, man, at the end of the day, like, it sucks that like some people don't like those aspects, but I don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, they don't pay the bills. They're not. I'm trying to make this good for everybody, and I think everybody I surround myself is in the same boat. You know?
Yeah. I think it's cool. I love the idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool concept. I think there's always going to be haters, and I mean, to hell with them.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I
every
mean?
scene has it. You know?
Yeah.
I felt
They're
like I
gonna be
was starting
everywhere.
to become that way with performance baggers, you know, for a while.
Really?
Especially when the bagger recently came around. Like, these fucking nerds, man. They ain't been to none of the events at Sturgis and the camp outs. Like, who are these guys? Oh, performance baggers, you know. But, you know, I quickly
It brought in a
realized-
whole new wave of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think.
It did. And it was my ego that was, like, making me think that way. And that's some shit I had to get over. That's some shit I had to work on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and I'm sure I've said some things on a podcast. I mean, I've said so much that it's hard to know. Yeah, he knows.
What do you stand for and what don't you stand
we didn't.
Yeah.
We used to not edit them at all. Now I'm kind of being a little more conscious of that. So, but I know that I've been a gatekeeper in that at some point in time, and that's never was my initial intention. I wanted everybody to experience this, but I think I wanted them to experience it the way I wanted them to.
Yeah.
You know, and
we become kind of protective of like the scene that we're
Yeah.
in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then outsiders come in or something new comes along and you're like, what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
we all tend to do that at times. Sometimes we just need to just check the ego at the door, realize that it's all we're all just enjoying motorcycles in different forms.
Exactly. And that's so on that note, and the fact that nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
Like, no scene lasts forever. Nothing. So being just trying to spend more time being present and happy, being involved in what's going on right now, instead of focusing on any kind of negative thing running around you. That's one of the things that I've kind of picked up over the last year. So I say this as a hypocrite for the most part. I have been the opposite of what I'm trying to be now. I'm trying to just like, look, I mean,
it's good that you've recognized it.
Yeah. I think it's just growing as a man. You get to a point where you start to, how much of this was me looking for validation, and how much of this was just like me actually, you know, having some actual meaningful reason behind it. And I think with the performance bagger wave, you know, obviously neither myself or most of the friends that I'm thinking of whenever I talk about some of the early days of it, we didn't create the thing. You know, like, that thing was a thing in California. So all you nerds out there, don't get butthurt about this. But in 2018 and 2019, and especially 2020, like, most of the performance bagger scene did not exist. It wasn't people from California. It was people from the Midwest and the East Coast. And, you know, there was like people out there, but there was no scene. There was like one dude there, one dude there. You know, there's two dudes in NorCal that had T-bar, or not T-bars, but like was in the quote unquote style of performance baggers that we were doing, right? And, you know, you quickly started seeing it change going to Sturgis every year. Like, I remember the first time, oh shit, there's a T-bar and a road glide. That was it for the day. Now it's like, like trying to find one that's not T-barred, right? That's a different, like, and people hated T-bars on road glides when they first came out. Like, they were like, oh, that's just stupid. It's dumb. You know, and everybody that had a fucking 468 cam thought their bike was a performance bagger, you know, and I remember those days. That's our podcast started. It was on the back of this whole trend. You know what I mean? But now it's like, I see people getting in it. I see them traveling. I see them racing, and I have no control over that. And I should never even have tried to have control over it. You know what I mean? You're having fun on bikes and you paid for that shit. You do you, whatever you want to do.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment.
Who am I to be like, oh man, that's not cool. You know, why aren't you running? You don't run Legends, run Olin's. You know, that's all me trying to justify my own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of like, you know, giving your opinion about what product might work for you.
Yeah.
But
When you're being asked.
there's no reason to hate
Yeah.
on someone for running something different.
Yeah. So when I say that, I'm like, okay, I'll walk up to your bike at bike night drunk, mind you.
Yeah.
So that's my out on this. Those progressive shocks suck, right? And, just like, didn't ask me my opinion about it. It's just like, I felt like, I'm a bagger daddy, dude. I got to let you know what I know or what I think I know or whatever. And that's the version of myself that I never want to be like again. You know what I mean? I've kind of come to this terms of like, I only want to be a student from here on out of everything. So I want to, anytime I feel like I know too much about something, I want to get away from it and be back into a spot of feeling like I need to learn something about it. And I felt like that in paint for a long time. Definitely felt like that in certain aspects of the motorcycle culture. And so like finding ways to stay in a place of learning and not a place of like feeling like I need to teach or preach, if you will,
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of preached that I see it a lot like with technicians and guys that work on bikes. Like the second you think you know everything is the second that you quit learning and you quit progressing. Like nobody knows everything. Mm-hmm. So don't think that you do.
Technicians is a really good like example to use. Like one dude will go learn how to be a dyno tech on one program and think that's the only program that works in the world. Yeah. Or like they've installed 4 cams and those, out of the 4, this is the only good one that exists. It's like, how do you not saying, I mean, you can give somebody your opinion about the 4 cams you've tried or the tuner that you've used, but you can't say that the other ones suck.
No.
Especially if you don't even try to like understand those programs or understand those metrics of those other products.
Sure.
And that's to your point of like a technician that just found a couple good setups and that's it. Fuck off. The rest is, history.
Yeah. You got to be constantly learning, asking questions. Like just ask questions, just always be learning.
Yep.
So
always ABL. Always be learning. Yes.
Yeah. The new ABC.
Yeah.
ABL. Maybe we'll make a sticker of that. ABL. Always be learning.
Yeah. Well, when you're truly learning and wanting to learn, like you'll find that like being in that state of mind is a much better place to be.
It's so much healthier.
Yeah. Because you're more inquisitive. You're more open to trying things and learning things and meeting people and listening. And, it's just, I find that I like myself better when I'm in that place.
Well, when you're in the mindset that you know everything and everything you're doing is the right way, you're looking at everybody else in a negative way, like you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
That's the wrong way to do it. Like, and it's just such a negative state to be in.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
And you could just if you could just open your eyes and just learn and ask questions, it's just such a, I don't know, just a better state of mind.
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with like what we were talking about with Sax moving here. It's like trying to put yourself in places where, you have the ability to kind of absorb new ideas, information, learn new things. And that doesn't mean like saying fuck off to the people that your friends, your current groups, your current circles, but it just means, hey man, why don't you carve out a little bit of time to go put yourself in another place every once in a while, and try to, maybe you can bring back to the tribe some new ideas that might help change even other people's opinions. And honestly, if you start to change and they don't want no part of it, that's when it's time to kind of move on in your worlds, but not go find a new idea and then come back and say, you guys are dumb because you're not in my shit no more. Or you're not doing 75 hard, you know what I mean? Or some shit like that, So it's really getting, I think in the last year or two, I've been working on myself in that way of trying to be more mindful of how I put out, things. And don't get me wrong, like there's so much recording of me out there that anybody can find the hypocriticalness in everything I'm saying or the contradictions or whatever. I'm not saying that I'm perfect in that. I'm just saying I'm trying to be more mindful of how I am so that I can become a better version, or at least for the people that want to know, like, and follow the Fast Life Garage journey or whatever that looks like at least I can show them, if they ever get to that point of recognizing or feeling like they've been in that same spot I talked about I was in, then maybe they might come to me and say, hey man, like I was in that spot and I liked that story of how you got out of it. I tried it. It actually worked, like sitting down and reading and listening to music and trying to be off of social media, off of YouTube, off of these things, just put the podcast on, obviously, if you want to do that. But, if it helps people, because people that have told me this stuff and it's helped me change and helped me find something more meaningful. So pass it on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like always be learning and also always be teaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and teaching's, it's tricky because it's not, there's teaching and then there's preaching.
Yeah. Teaching is like to people that want to learn. Preaching
sharing
is to people
knowledge.
that don't. They didn't ask you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Someone asked, I think a perfect example, like you came here, when was it?
March of last year.
Not quite a year. Mm-hmm. And we're asking questions about podcasts. And you were, honestly, kind of an open book.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you weren't like gatekeeping, like, shut the fuck up. Podcast is my thing. I don't need another podcast out there. You were cool with like, buy this, do this, try this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were helping, you were answering questions, you were teaching someone who was asking questions.
Exactly. And that's kind of the place that I think that's where knowledge is supposed to be kind of shared in a setting where people are asking for it or could use it. You got to be the judge of like, overstepping a boundary. Some people are a little bit more prideful and they don't want to feel like they might not know or whatever. But to me, it's like on this trip, I'm sitting down and doing podcasts with a lot of people, but there's some people that inspire me that I'm like giddy to talk to. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of nervous because I'm hoping that I ask the questions that I hope my audience wants to hear, but I'm also like thinking about the questions that I want to know for my own personal growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which might make for a great podcast or not. Who knows? But yeah, dude, I think that I've said it before. It's like more people doing podcasts are actually taking it seriously. That's the difference. It brings more people to listen to podcasts, which a rising tide floats all ships. More people like podcasts. Oh, I like this idea. Oh shit, there's a plethora of other ones out there I can check out. Mm-hmm. And no one's gonna someone will binge like my episodes for a week straight, and then they're probably sick of my voice after that, and they need a break. Or they'll listen to me for 4 hours of the day or whatever, and then they're like, you know what, I want to take a break from that. I want to get some different perspectives from a Tucker Speed podcast or a Danger Dan podcast or, said person that does podcasts. There's something out there to fit the vibe that you're trying to be a part of, and I think that what you guys bring to the table is something that I don't bring to the table. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing is like you're going to ask different questions from like where you come from and what's your kind of natural inquiry is about things than I would. Therefore, you get two different interviews when you talk to the same people.
We could talk to the same people and have two different conversations for sure.
And so for someone that maybe is a fan of the guest, now there's a couple different ways they can absorb the knowledge of that guest through different ways that they were interviewed.
Yeah.
So, it's just, there's never been a better time for people to find information about stuff. It's just, there's always going to be those what fucking exhaust is that guy on the comments, right? Not the guy that looks and clicks and sees that there's the people that are looking for more are the people that find podcasts, right? They're the people that go and look for, they find a guest on a podcast, follow them and try to get more of what they wanted, what they gained from that initial conversation. Mm-hmm. And then there's people that just want to know what fairing that is,
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say the fairing guy is the worst. I just, I think I want to make things and I want to put things out there for the people that want to try.
That want more than that.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Cool.
Yeah. Good, man.
It's good stuff.
I think so.
Got anything more, Saxon? What do you got coming up?
Video's dropping soon.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to have the documentary done.
Where can people find that? Is it YouTube? Instagram?
So initially it'll be posted to Justin's YouTube. I think it's
Me, My Machinist, and I on YouTube. So
Yeah.
Justin paid Saxon that way he can have the video, because like I said, we didn't have a lot of money for the tour. So
Sure.
any ways we can kind of get money, and Justin kind of forked over the money for that. And it's perfect because they have their YouTube channel is up and coming and whatnot, so it'd be good content for that. But it'll also be on your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
as well.
I'll post it on mine as well, probably a month or so later.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do plan on having it done for the day they decide to announce the new builders.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Possibly incorporate with that
Yeah, it's more or less looking closer like it's going to be a February, like really come out swinging with all the information, what's going on. Because once I get back, that'll give me 2 weeks to kind of get with Justin and start figuring shit out, phone calling people to get sponsors, trying to get things booked and get everything going. And then there'll be a month between when we go live with the builders and with the people that have to send in their emails that want to be the 10th builder. And it'll probably be a month between. So by March, every builder will be picked and everybody will be on the ground running. And then they have like more than most people ever get to build a bike to finish it. So
Yeah, they have like what,
October,
9,
the
10
middle
months?
of October,
Yeah.
so all the builders all the current builders know that they're builders. So they're already building right now. So, I mean, if they're waiting on us to announce it in February, then they're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, it's like, like I said, it's going to happen. It's going to be good. It's, and Sax dropping the video, it'll kind of give the people watching a much better perspective of what it's about, unless they listen to podcasts. And then I fucking told you again, dude.
Yeah. Cool.
I get wrapped
I'm
up.
excited to see that.
Well, I'm excited y'all doing this podcast, man. Just talking with you guys earlier, what y'all got planned and how you're trying to, you're on the same mindset that I am. Like, I want to make this good for people watching and I want to make it better for the people being on it and just grow it and make it cool, make it fun. That's if it's not fun anymore, then it's just a job and it's hard to get up and not do fun shit. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. No, it's been good. And there's a lot to learn here with this,
Yeah.
both from a technical standpoint with the equipment and, the setup and all that. But even for me to learn like how to have conversations.
Yeah.
There's stuff to learn there too that I'm still figuring out. I'm not good at it.
You're a better speaker than me. Like I talk fast and I trip over my words and I get so like, antsy to say stuff. So you're more calculated with your words than I am. And I notice when you start listening to your voice all the time, you start seeing how bad you are at speaking.
See, and that's how I feel about me.
I feel like listening to you, I'm like, man, if I could just talk a little bit slower, man.
Well,
But
that's the same things I'm saying. It's like, man, I wish I could do what
Saxon
Jace
just talks
does.
too slow.
Yeah, I don't talk enough.
He talks so slow that he's like spelling the words in his head before they put them out.
Yeah. I took an edible before I came here.
He took an edible. But
No, it's something that I'm still learning and figuring out.
Yeah.
And, we're 22 episodes into this little project.
yeah.
And I'm still learning, trying to do like each episode, I'm trying to get a little bit better.
Yeah. That's
And,
good. Yeah,
know.
the host thing, it's taken a long time for me to try to hone in that as well. I've always had a natural like inquisitiveness about like the people that I talk to, like but it's the getting over the words, the comfort words
Yeah.
when you're like, I'm not used to silence. So like I say like, and you know what I mean? And, I could go down the list of all these words and I should stop doing it. Cause then people just do drinking challenges. Like when I listen to the podcast, like every time Jace says, here's the deal, drink, So I don't know. It sucks, man. Because you're not thinking about when you get wrapped up in a conversation, you're not thinking about the delivery of the words. I'm not thinking about how I'm saying it maybe it's gonna be a good soundbite for the YouTube or whatever. I'm thinking about like, get it out, ask them before you forget or before the squirrel runs across the stage or some shit, So
Yeah, it's a challenge. I'm learning and it's fun. I mean, it's something for me to kind of focus on and get better at every time. And so it's good. And I appreciate like your help and your
for sure, man.
advice and,
Well, people help me get mine started. So it only makes sense to help out people that I personally know, like you and a handful of other people that I've actually helped out as well.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, yeah.
Swinging through here and jumping on.
Anytime I get to talk more, that's good. I'm just playing, man.
No, I was a little tripped out because I'm like, shit, man. Like he's probably on vacation. The last thing he wants to do is a fucking podcast. That's what he does all the time. So
My vacations are doing podcasts. That
Yeah.
never ends. I'm doing this will be a light trip for me on podcasts. I probably only get about 7, maybe 8 episodes. When I did the one where I came and saw you last time, there was like 15 episodes.
yeah, it's a grind.
I released that episode because I kept trying to fix the video, like in like July or some shit. from yours, and you were like one of the second person I interviewed on the whole trip. So it's like, fuck, how did I mess this up? And I'm trying to fix it, and then I was like, dude, I can't. I just put the audio out and just be done with it, you know?
No, it's cool, and it's a lot of work. I don't think people realize. I mean, it's a lot. To do this stuff. I mean, it just looks like we're sitting down having a conversation, but there's a lot of planning, a lot of setup, so hats off to you for. I mean, how many episodes you got? Like 350 or something?
So we're released right now 355, and then, you know, obviously after this trip, another 7 or 8, and then, I think we ended up putting around 50 to 60 out a year because we try to shoot for 5 a month. But I always try to at least do 4 a month. That way, there's 1 week.
That's a grind. I mean, we're doing 2 a month. I mean, this, like I said, this is. You know, we're going to be done with this, and I got to go back to the dyno room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Same.
And
I understand.
So doing 2 a month right now is a lot for us. Maybe in the future it becomes more frequent.
Smoother,
and we dial in the process, and, you know, maybe we figure out a way to make that happen. But
doing the studio was one of the biggest things that made it easier to just
turn it
go.
on. Yeah.
That way, there's no setup. It's like you just go in, you set the computer up, turn the lights on, and, you know, you go to town. And so when you have it set up like that, it becomes a lot less of a pain in the ass to go do a podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
and we're having those conversations now. Like, you know, there's a little bit of setup here, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We'll give it another year, and we'll see, you know.
Make adjustments.
See where it's at.
You're doing good. Jordan, you're doing good over there, bud.
Yeah, Jordan, another appreciation post. Thank you.
Where would we be without you?
Cool.
All right. Thanks,
man.
Appreciate it.